showtime.
Hey, what's up, ghouls and gals? It's me, Ryan T here, and
These are spirit
and
figures.
I'm gonna review mid-90s. Alright guys, mid-90s was directed by Jonah Hill.
She wants to fuck me. She wants my dick in or around her mouth.
And it stars these group of kids right here. Alright guys, first off I want to start this review off by saying this was a lovely movie. This movie exceeded my expectations, and it also surprised me because I thought this movie was going to be like nostalgia porn meets skate porn, and that it was just going to rely heavily on it being nostalgic and you being like, oh look, it's the 90s, I remember the 90s, oh! But that's not what this movie is. This movie delivered a very well thought out, well executed film with an amazing dramatic story that follows this young kid right here who goes by the name of Stevie in the film. And Stevie is this kid who's kind of living in, I guess you would call like a ghetto area of Los Angeles, and he's a part of a home that is very chaotic. His home life is very chaotic. His mother is like very absent and never there. And his older brother, who loves to drink orange juice for some reason, is always kicking his fucking ass and like beating him up, and is just like being an all-around dickhead to everybody. So Stevie's dealing with that at home, all while he's kind of like not sure what kind of person he is or what kind of things that he likes. He's kind of just, you know, copying his brother, and he's kind of wanting to be his own person, but he doesn't really know how to do that until he meets these group of guys who are hanging out in front of like a skateboard type shop, and they're like doing tricks and stuff, and like Stevie sees them and he's like really intrigued by how the way they act and by the way they dress and how they're skateboarding, and so he immediately goes and tries to get a skateboard and try to join that world. And after a while he does join that world, and that's when the film starts to blossom. You start to see this little naive kid turn into this like kind of like hardened different person. You know, you see his arc totally, you see him as a person totally changed at the end of the film. He goes from this naive kid who's not really like sure of himself at all, and at the end of the film he's totally different. I mean, he still more or less kind of has some of the same qualities. He still is very nice and caring, but he's more of a hardened individual after all the things that he goes through in this film. Another thing that I liked about this film was the way that it was directed, the way that Jonah Hill
Ask me about my winner.
directed this film was kind of in a documentary style. This film plays out sort of like a documentary with a story behind it, and that's really interesting. I really dug that aesthetic that the film followed, and what I really enjoyed, speaking of aesthetic, that it borrowed the 90s aesthetic without leaning and relying too much on that 90s aesthetic. Also, Trent Reznor does the score for this movie, and it is fucking phenomenal. He does such an amazing job of like transporting you into this film and making you feel like you're standing next to these characters, you're feeling what they're feeling, and that's all due to Trent Reznor's amazing score, which is kind of weird. Trent Reznor over the past couple of years has become one of the great Hollywood score makers for films. He did the Mark Zuckerberg Facebook film. He did this film, and he's done like countless other films that have won like awards based on his back, you know, his music. So I really like that, and just the film as a whole, it really works. But the thing that may turn audiences off from this film is that it's a slow burn, and it is sometimes just these characters sitting around kind of like bullshitting and kind of like bantering and talking about how they feel about certain things and certain topics and stuff. It's a very dialogue heavy film. So if you're looking for something that's going to show kids like constantly like doing badass skateboard tricks, or them like saying dick and fart jokes every 2 seconds, this isn't the movie for you. Mid-90s isn't that movie. Just because this movie is directed by Jonah Hill, this movie is no Superbad. This movie kind of reminds me of like I mean, honestly, I haven't seen a film like this. Like I said, it's kind of like a documentary style film mixed in with this dramatic story that's kind of a coming of age story and kind of a skateboarding, a love letter to skateboarding and hip hop and music and the 90s and LA, and it's just an all around great movie. And I wish that I could have made this review more comedic, but I really just wanted to have a serious review and tell you exactly what I thought about this movie, and I really enjoyed it, guys. So for that, I have to give it a 7.5. I was going to give it an 8 out of 10, but I instead went with the 7.5 because this film, it is, again, like I said, it's a slow burning film, so that may turn off some audiences. And also, at times, the film feels a little like random and lost. Like, there's certain scenes where you're just like, okay, that was weird, why did that happen? And then just move on to the next thing. So that kind of, not turned me off, but I was kind of like, oh, they could have did without that. For example, there's one scene where the main character Stevie and his brother are in their mother's room and they're going to steal $40, or no, $80. And Stevie steals $40, you know, 40 of the $80. And then it just cuts to this random scene where he gets like a comb or something, or like a brush, and he's like, I don't know why he did that, but he just started like whacking the fuck out of himself. I don't know. Maybe he was punishing himself for doing that. I don't know. I'm getting off topic. Again, 7.5 out of 10, guys. I really suggest you go and see Mid-90s. It's a very entertaining, very heartfelt, good film that left me very impressed and wanted to see more films from Jonah Hill. I can't wait to see his next film that he directs, because Jonah Hill is a very talented and creative director. I'm Ryan T, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.